Kendrick Lamar just walked into the 2026 Grammys with GNX and turned the entire ceremony into a reckoning for hip-hop. An independent West Coast album with zero major label backing just forced the Grammys to admit what they've been denying for decades. Bad Bunny took Album of the Year. But that ain't even the story anymore. Kendrick grabbed Record of the Year with Luther, swept 5 more Grammys total, and became the most decorated rapper in Grammy history. While Drake's legal team is spiraling, Cole's entire album rollout just got buried under Kendrick's dominance. And the game is publicly challenging Kenny to prove he's still the king of Compton. And the industry, they really thought they could keep treating hip-hop like a joke. Before we get into it, subscribe, don't miss it. Nah, Kendrick Lamar walked into the crypto Arena on February 1st, 2026 with 9 Grammy nominations for GNX. His 6th studio album released independently through PG Lang and Intercope Records. He was nominated for Album of the Year, the biggest prize of the night. Bad Bunny's Dear Masotos won that category, making the first Spanish-language album to ever take the trophy. But Kendrick, he still walked out with 5 Grammys, including Best Rap Album for GNX and Record of the Year with Luther with SZA, bringing his career total to 27 awards. That makes him the most awarded rapper in Grammy history, surpassing Jay-Z's record. Brew really thought an independent album couldn't shake the entire foundation of the music industry. Now, let's break down exactly how Kendrick pulled this off and why everyone is scrambling to respond. Let me show you the exact receipts that prove this. Grammy moment was inevitable. On November 22nd, 2024, Kendrick surprise dropped GNX with no warning, no rollout, no major label machine behind it. Just pure West Coast hip-hop, released through his own PG Lang company. According to Pitchfork on February 2nd, 2026, Kendrick won Best Rap Album that night, beating out Clips's Let God Sort 'Em Out Glorilla's Gloriously. When I saw that lineup, I was like, yo, music, that's a stacked category. And Kendrick still dominated. But here's where it gets wild. At the 2025 Grammys, just 1 year earlier, Kendrick swept all 5 nominations for Not Like Us, his Drake diss track, according to Grammy. On February 3rd, 2025, he won Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Rap Performance, Best Rap Song, and Best Music Video for that one track. When I heard he tied The Fifth Dimension's Up and Away as the most awarded song in Grammy history, I had to rewind that stat 3 times. That's unprecedented dominance. Now, fast forward to February 1st, 2026. The New York Times reported that Kendrick and Bad Bunny were the top winners, with Kendrick taking home Record of the Year again, this time for Luther with Scissor. That's back-to-back Record of the Year wins, bro. The last time someone pulled that off, I can't even remember. Nah, you can't do that and expect people to not call you the greatest of this generation. Forbes confirmed on February 1st, 2026 that this one extended Kendrick's remarkable Grammy dominance, and that GNX marked his 5th consecutive studio album nominated for Album of the Year. According to CBS News, he's the first artist ever to achieve that 5 in a row feat. Look, when the stats are this clean, there's no debate anymore. But yo, check this out. While music, Kendrick was making history, Drake was in a New York courtroom fighting a losing battle. Rolling Stone reported on October 9th, 2025 that Drake lost his defamation lawsuit against Universal Music Group over Not Like Us. A federal judge straight up said the lyrics were non-actionable opinion and part of a heated rap battle. Music, when I read that ruling, I was like, what? Bro tried to sue his way out of getting bodied lyrically? That's the weakest move I've ever seen from someone who calls himself a rapper. The New York Times on October 9th, 2025 published a court opinion, Music, stating Drake's claims were dismissed because diss track lyrics are protected speech. The judge wrote that the vitriolic war of words in rap battles doesn't qualify as defamation. And Music, then, because Drake apparently doesn't know when to stop. Billboard reported on January 21st, 2026 that he's appealing the dismissal. Bra is fighting this legal war, while Kendrick is collecting trophies. Music, that's embarrassing. Now that we got the quotes, let's connect the dots nobody else is talking about. Remember that Super Bowl 59 halftime show on February 9th, 2025? That happened less than a year before these Grammys. Kendrick performed at the Caesar Superdome and brought out Not Like Us and Euphoria, both Drake music diss tracks on the biggest stage in American sports. Variety reported the crowd literally screamed a minor when Kendrick let them finish the pedophile allegation line. Entertainment Tonight confirmed Drake was angry about performance, and that Kendrick even brought out Serena Williams, who used to date Drake as a surprise guest. So Kendrick embarrassed Drake on a global stage with 123 million viewers, then rolled that momentum straight into Grammy season. That's terrible timing for Drake, bro. And here's what people aren't connecting. Drake's lawsuit was dismissed in October 2025, just 4 months before Grammy voting closed. According to the New York federal court documents, the judge ruled against Drake on October 9th, 2025. That means when Recording Academy members were casting their ballots for the 2026 Grammys in late 2025, they were watching Drake lose in court while music. Kendrick was riding the biggest diss track victory in modern hip-hop history. The optics brutal for Drake. But it gets deeper. GNX wasn't just any album. It was Kendrick's first project after leaving Top Dog Entertainment and Aftermath Entertainment, his longtime labels. According to Turntable Labs' description, this music was his full independence move. He built PG Lang with his creative partner Dave Free, and GNX proved he doesn't need the traditional industry machine. That's why the Grammys nominations felt like an industry earthquake. Here's an artist who left the system, did it his way, and still forced the establishment to recognize him at the highest level. So Kendrick did this 3 days after the lawsuit dismissal was publicly announced, and nobody thought that timing was calculated. Nah, music. Kenny planned this like a chess grandmaster. Meanwhile, J.C. Cole, who was supposed to drop the fall off in early 2026, suddenly finds himself releasing music in a news cycle dominated by Kendrick. Wrap Up reported on January 30th, 2026 that Cole confirmed the fall off became a double album after he was incredibly re-inspired by events in 2024. Translation: the Drake-Kendrick beef forced Cole to scrap his original plans and start over. That's collateral damage territory. Any smart person would have waited for the Kendrick hype to cool down before dropping. But J. Cole isn't operating from a position of strength right now. Now, check this out. Nobody's talking about the symbolism Kendrick embedded in GNX. The album title itself is a reference to the 1987 Buick GNX, a legendary muscle car from Compton. According to automotive journalist Bussy Tatarvik on Twitter, Kendrick owns the actual car, number 191 of only 547 ever built. He's even mentioned internal GM build codes in past lyrics. That car represents American muscle, independence, and West Coast legacy. By naming his independent album after a car that's rare and uncompromising, Kendrick was making a statement before anyone even pressed play. If you still think album titles don't matter after all this cultural weight, you're just not paying attention. Now, let's break down the GNX tracklist forensics. The album opens with Whacked Out Murals, a title immediately referencing Kendrick's mural in Compton that got vandalized multiple times during the Drake beef. That's him addressing the disrespect heathen in the first seconds of the album. Then track 2 is Squabble Up, a West Coast term for getting ready to fight. The sequencing alone is telling a story. Music, disrespect, preparation, execution. And the Game just confirmed he caught that message, which is why he responded. Speaking of the Game, Hot New Hip Hop reported on January 30th, 2026 that Game dropped Kendrick on his new Gangsta Grillz mixtape with DJ Drama. On the intro track, Whatever, Game said, "If I ain't the best rapper from Compton, it gotta be Kendrick. Tell him to come and end it." That's a public challenge on a DJ Drama tape, the most respected music platform for lyrical warfare. And the Game really didn't catch that Kendrick been ending people for 2 years straight. That's embarrassing for someone who claims Compton lineage. The forensic detail: everyone missed Kendrick's Grammy speech. When he accepted Best Rap Album on February 1st, 2026, he kept it short, under 60 seconds. No lengthy thank yous, no emotional breakdowns. Just a quick acknowledgement and off music, the stage. That's confidence. When you know you're the best, you don't need to convince anyone. Compare that to Drake's music desperate legal filings, and appeal briefs try and convince a judge that rap lyrics hurt his feelings. One man is moving in silence with power. The other is screaming into a void. And here's the final forensic layer. GNX's lack of features. The album has SZA, Baby Keem, and a few West Coast artists, but no mainstream crossover guests. No pop stars, no radio pandering, no algorithm manipulation. According to the Desog's listing, it's pure Kendrick backed by West Coast producers like Soundwave, DJ Mustard, and Jack Antonoff. That's in music saying, I don't need anyone else to validate this. And the Grammys still gave him 5 awards. If the game had half the strategic mind Kendrick has, he wouldn't be chasing clout on mixtape intros right now. Now, let's see how the media covered this story and where they got it wrong. Complex called Kendrick's 2026 Grammy night a victory lap, but downplayed the historical significance of him becoming the most awarded rapper ever. Their coverage focused on Bad Bunny winning Album of the Year, which is fair, but they treated Kendrick's 5 wins like a footnote. Nah, that's major. But Hot New Hip Hop and XXL went harder. XXL Mag posted on January 30th, 2026 that Kendrick walked away with 5 awards, including Album of the Year for GNX, Best Rap Album, Best Rap Song for TV Off, and others. Wait, some outlets said he won Album of the Year. Others said Bad Bunny won it. Let me clarify. Bad Bunny took the main AOD prize, but Kendrick swept Best Rap, Music Album, and Record of the Year. The confusion proves how dominant his night was. People couldn't even keep track of all his wins. Vice went even further, publishing an analysis about how GNX represents the death of major label dependency in hip-hop. They frame Kendrick's dominance as proof that artists don't need traditional industry infrastructure. That's the real story. Now, some people are saying Kendrick should have won Album of the Year over Bad Bunny. Here's why that doesn't hold up. Bad Bunny's DBT Eras Photos was the first Spanish-language album to ever win AOD. The cultural significance of that cannot be ignored. But here's the rebuttal. Kendrick's GNX was the first fully independent West Coast rap album to be nominated for AOD in the streaming era. Both moments are historic. The media trying to spin this as Kendrick lost are just looking for controversy when both artists won that night. The Shade Room and TMZ focus on Drake's absence and his legal battles, treating the Grammys as a Drake versus Kendrick proxy war. But that framing misses the point. This wasn't about Drake anymore. Kendrick moved past that beef and forced the industry music to recognize hip-hop's legitimacy. The media try and keep the Drake narrative alive or just chasing clicks. But the receipts show Drake is irrelevant to the story now. But here's what nobody's saying, and this is a truth the industry does not want you to hear. The mainstream narrative is Kendrick had a great night, but Bad Bunny made history. Cool. Congratulations to Bad Bunny. Seriously, that's huge for Latin music. But here's the real story. They're burying. The Grammys did not give Kendrick Album of the Year because they're terrified of what that would represent. Listen, Kendrick Lamar's GNX was a fully independent, uncompromising West Coast rap album with no pop crossover, no radio pandering, no label machine. If the Grammys gave him Album of the Year, they'd be admitting that hip-hop doesn't need their approval anymore. They'd be admitting that the entire system they built where major labels control narratives, where pop crossovers determine legitimacy, where white gatekeepers decide what's Grammy-worthy is obsolete. And you want to know why they can't admit that? Because the Grammys have a 40-year history of disrespecting hip-hop. NPR published an article in January 2018 titled, "Same Old Rap, the Grammys Race Toward Irrelevance," that straight up said, the Grammys are not here for hip-hop. Stacker analyzed the numbers and found that hip-hop appeared in only 63% of Record of the Year nominations since 1989, despite being the most popular genre in America for the past decade. Music, Vibe listed 10 rap albums that got snubbed from AOTY nominations. The Marshall Mavis LP, Stonia, Get Rich or Die Trying, Good Kid, Mad City, all classics that the Grammys ignored. Now, here's where it gets uncomfortable for them. Kendrick's GNX being nominated for AOTY was his 5th consecutive nomination in that category. That's unprecedented. No artist in Grammy history had ever been nominated for Album of the Year 5 times in a row. CBS News confirmed that stat on February 1st, 2026. So, the Grammys have been forced to acknowledge Kendrick's dominance for half a decade, but they've never given him the big prize. Why? Because giving a conscious independent rap album the highest honor will expose their bias. Here's the deeper layer. Music. This isn't just about Kendrick. If Kendrick wins AOTY for GNX, the Grammys are admitting they were wrong about Tupac. Music. Nas, Kanye, Eminem, and every other rap legend they snubbed. Remember Lauryn Hill's The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is the only hip-hop album to ever win Album of the Year. And that was in 1999, 27 years ago. In that music time, rap has become the dominant force in global music. And the Grammys have given AOTY to Taylor Swift 4 times. Make it make sense. So when I see Bad Bunny win Album of the Year, and again, much music respect to him, I also see a strategic move by the Recording Academy. They can claim they're progressive by giving the award to a Spanish-language album, which is genuinely historic. Music. But they avoid the conversation about why they've systematically excluded pure hip-hop from the top prize for nearly 3 decades. That's the definition of institutional gatekeeping. Music disguised as progress. And Kendrick knows this. That's why he kept his acceptance speech under 60 seconds. He's not asking for their validation anymore. He took his 5 trophies and reminded the world that the culture doesn't need the Grammys. The Grammys need the culture. And Drake, bro, is playing checkers while Kendrick is playing chess. Drake tried to use the legal system to fight a rap battle. He filed a defamation lawsuit, got it dismissed, and is now appealing the dismissal while Kendrick is at the Grammys collecting awards. That's desperation at the highest level. Drake thought he could use white institutional power, the courts, to silence Kendrick's artistic expression. The judge said no. And now Drake is stuck looking like someone who can't handle the culture he claimed to represent. If you still defend Drake after watching him try to sue his way out of a lyrical battle, you're music. Not defending hip-hop, you're defending your own bias. The industry is in panic mode right now because Kendrick just proved the old model is dead. You don't need a major label rollout. You don't need pop features. Music. You don't need to compromise your art. You just need to be undeniably great. And the Grammys, despite their music historical bias, could not ignore that. They gave Kendrick 5 awards but withheld the big one because giving him AOTY would be admitting their entire music legacy is built on excluding voices like his. That's the truth they're too scared to say out loud. Music. So what happens next? Let me give you 3 scenarios that are about to play out. And trust me, in every scenario, Kendrick wins. Kendrick is going to ignore all the noise and focus on his grand national tour, which was announced for 2026 and hits 18 countries. He's not responding to the game's challenge because the game is not a threat. He's a distraction. When Kendrick stays silent, the game is going to look desperate, dropping songs into the void with no music response. Mark my words, the game will release at least 2 more tracks trying to bait Kendrick, and Kenny won't even acknowledge them. That silence is going to hurt the game more than any diss track ever could. The world is going to watch the game scream for attention, while Kendrick sells out arenas across the globe. And when that happens, people will remember who the real king of Compton music is. J. Cole's The Fall Off is going to drop sometime in 2026. And it's going to be good, but it won't matter. The entire news cycle is Kendrick right now. Cole can drop a double album and it'll get buried under Kendrick's Grammy dominance, tour announcements, and potential surprise drops. If Cole drops this spring, he's competing with Kendrick's Victory Lap. If Cole drops this summer, he's competing with Kendrick's World Tour's headlines. Cole already apologized for stepping into the beef. Now he's stuck watching Kendrick dominate the culture from the sidelines. That's the consequence of backing down when the stakes were highest. Drake. He's going to keep fighting that legal appeal, and he's going to lose again. The Second Circuit Court of Appeals is not going to overturn a First Amendment ruling that protects artistic expression. When that appeal gets denied, probably by mid-2026, Drake will have spent millions of dollars in legal fees just to prove he can't handle being dissed. His fan base is already fracturing. People who used to defend him are starting to ask, why is he still fighting this? That's when you know you've lost the culture. Now, If Kendrick does respond to the game, and that's a big if, it's over for Game in 72 hours. We saw what Kendrick did to Drake. Music, who's one of the biggest artists on the planet. The Game doesn't stand a chance. Kendrick will drop one verse. Music, dismantle Game's entire legacy. Bring up the fact that Game has been chasing relevance for 15 years, and it'll be a wrap. The Game's own fans will turn on him because they'll realize he asked for smoke he couldn't handle. That's the risk Game is taking by calling out Kenny publicly. If Drake somehow wins his appeal, which is a 1% chance, but let's entertain it, it sets a dangerous precedent for hip-hop. It would mean diss tracks can be legally actionable, which would kill the culture of competitive lyricism. But even in that unlikely scenario, Drake still loses because winning a lawsuit doesn't make you a better rapper. It makes you the guy who needed a judge to fight his battles. Drake's legacy would be permanently stained in music as a rapper who couldn't win with bars. So he tried to win with lawyers. That's career suicide in hip-hop. Looking at the bigger picture, music, this Grammy moment is going to be studied for decades. Music historians have appointed February 1st. 2026 as a night the old guard finally had to acknowledge what the culture has known for years. Kendrick Lamar is the greatest rapper of this generation, and he music did without compromising. Future independent artists are going to use GNX as a blueprint. You don't need a major label to win Grammys. You don't need pop crossovers to get respect. Just be great. That's the lesson Kendrick taught in 2026. 5 years from now, people will look back at this as the moment Drake's career permanently shifted from rap superstar to pop artist who sometimes raps. The lawsuit, the Super Bowl humiliation, the Grammy shutout. It's going to be remembered as his downfall era. And the Game, he's going to be a cautionary tale about what happens when you challenge someone out of your league. Historians will write, the Game demanded blood from Kendrick Lamar in 2026, and Kendrick didn't even need to respond to end the conversation. Whatever happens, one thing's clear. Kendrick Lamar just rewrote the rules of the game, and everybody else is scrambling to keep up. The crown is secure, the legacy is cemented, and the culture knows who the king is. Thanks for watching Celebsphere. If you enjoyed uncovering the real story, smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss when we expose what everyone else is too scared to say. Ring that bell for notifications. And if you want more truth bombs like this, click on one of these videos next.